Maya entered the towering glass building with her usual quiet steps, clutching the files to her chest as if they were a shield. Every day at the office felt the same, whispers slipping behind her back, mocking smiles thrown her way, colleagues nudging each other whenever she passed. She was the assistant no one respected, the girl they believed didn't belong among polished suits and confident voices. She kept her gaze low, her breath steady, and moved through the hallways as if she were invisible. She had learned to survive that way. But today was different. A storm was coming, even if no one knew it yet. Up on the top floor, Billionaire CEO Adrian Locke was pacing behind his desk, running a hand through his hair. His company was about to finalize the biggest contract of its history, a deal worth hundreds of millions. But the foreign investors, powerful, cold, analytical, were arriving early, and the documents required precise translation. The translator had cancelled last minute. Panic simmered through the team. Every department head scrambled, shouting orders, shuffling papers, trying to hide the fact that the company was drowning in disorganization. Maya quietly slipped into place the morning schedule on the conference table. The managers barely noticed her. They were too busy arguing. "We need a replacement translator." One of them snapped. "We can't postpone the meeting," another hissed. "The contract uses complex terminology. You think some random freelancer will handle it?" As the debate grew louder, Maya's hands tightened around the folder. She cleared her throat, almost too softly. No one heard. She tried again, a little louder. I can translate it." Silence froze the room. Then the laughter started. The marketing officer snorted. "You translate a high-level legal contract." Another smirked. "You can barely speak during meetings." Someone at the back whispered, "Maybe she thinks Google Translate makes her qualify." Maya felt the familiar burn behind her chest, the sting of humiliation she endured every single day, but she didn't step back. "Not this time. I studied international business and languages," she said quietly. "German, French, and Dutch. I worked part-time translating corporate papers before I joined this company." They stared at her as if she'd spoken another language entirely. Adrian Locke finally stepped forward. His voice was calm but edged with urgency. "Can you do it accurately?" "Yes," Maya answered without hesitation. Her voice didn't shake. He handed her the documents. "Then prove it." For the next hour, Maya worked in silence inside the small side office no one ever used. Her fingers moved quickly across the keyboard, rewriting paragraphs, correcting formal tone, restructuring clauses with precision. She understood the culture behind the words, the unspoken expectations hidden between lines. This wasn't just language, it was negotiation, subtle respect, and power. Outside the room, her colleagues hovered like vultures waiting for her to fail. Some even bet she'd mess up. Others rehearsed excuses to blame her when the meeting collapsed. But when she handed the translated contract to Adrian, he scanned it, and his eyes widened. The phrasing was clean, professional, sophisticated, exactly what the investors expected. "This is perfect," he said quietly. Before anyone could question him, the investors arrived. Tall, stern, wearing expressions carved from stone. They settled around the long conference table. The room filled with tension so thick it could be felt. The lead investor opened the contract, read the first page, and nodded. He continued to the second, then the third. Other investors leaned in, murmuring to each other, nodding with approval. Adrian shot a glance at Maya. She stood near the wall, unnoticed by most, but his gaze held something new, respect. Halfway through the meeting, an unexpected complication rose. One of the investors questioned a clause that required cultural context to interpret. Adrian hesitated, unsure how to respond. His executives exchanged panicked looks. But Maya stepped forward. "If I may clarify," she said softly. Every head turned. Adrian gestured for her to continue. Maya explained the clause in fluent German, her tone clear and professional. She added cultural nuances and business etiquette the contract implied. The investors listened closely, and after a moment, one of them broke into a rare smile. "Sehr gut," he said. "She understands." The rest of the meeting flowed smoothly. Questions arose. Maya answered them with composure. Misinterpretations appeared. She cleared them with elegance. The energy of the room shifted entirely. The investors were no longer stiff. They were engaged, confident, satisfied. At the end, the lead investor stood, extended his hand to Adrian, and said, "Your company is fortunate to have someone with her expertise. The contract is approved." Cheers erupted the moment they left the building. The executives collapsed into chairs, sighing with relief. Adrian walked straight to Maya. "You just saved this company," he said. "Not just the deal, everything." She blinked, unsure how to respond. Compliments were not something she received. "I was only doing my job," she whispered. "You did far more than that." But before he could say more, the team rushed in, suddenly eager to praise her. The same people who mocked her hours earlier now clung to her like she was a trophy. They raved about her intelligence, her skill, her hidden talent. Their smiles were too big, too fake. She could still feel the sting of their laughter echoing in her memory. Adrian sensed her discomfort. He stepped between her and the others, his tone authoritative. "All of you ridiculed her every day. I've seen it. And today, she did what none of you could. You owe her more than praise. You owe her respect." Their faces flushed with guilt. One of the senior managers cleared his throat awkwardly. "Maya, we may have underestimated you." Maya didn't reply. She didn't need to. Adrian turned to her again. "Come to my office." His tone wasn't commanding, it was inviting. Upstairs, the city skyline glowed behind him like a wall of light. Adrian leaned against his desk, eyes steady. "Tell me honestly, why didn't you ever mention your qualifications?" Maya lowered her gaze. "No one ever asked, and when I tried, they laughed. It was easier to stay quiet. You shouldn't have had to." His jaw tightened. Talent should never be hidden because of other people's insecurities. She didn't know what to say, so she stayed silent. Adrian walked to his drawer and pulled out an envelope. "This is a bonus, a significant one. You earned it." Her breath caught. Few people had ever believed she deserved anything. "And," he continued, "I want you to take a different position here. Head of International Relations." Maya's eyes widened. "Me, you proved your capability," Adrian said simply. "And I trust you." Emotion surged in her chest. Relief, disbelief, pride. She swallowed hard, blinking back tears. I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything. Just accept what you've earned." The following weeks changed everything. Maya's new office was spacious, with a window overlooking the city. Employees who once mocked her now greeted her with respect, real respect, not the forced kind. She made decisions, led negotiations, and every time she spoke, the room fell silent to listen. But the biggest change came from within. She walked with her head high. Her voice no longer trembled. She had spent years shrinking herself to fit a world that didn't value her. Now she took up space without apologizing. Adrian often visited her office, sometimes for work, sometimes under the excuse of small talk. Their conversations flowed effortlessly. The more he learned about her, the more impressed he became. Not just with her intelligence, but with her patience, her kindness, her strength forged in quiet suffering. He found himself looking for reasons to see her, asking for her opinion, sharing updates, even bringing her coffee during long mornings. One evening, long after the office had emptied, Maya was reviewing files when she heard a soft knock. Adrian stepped in, loosened tie, sleeves rolled up. "Still working?" he asked. She smiled faintly. "Just finishing a report." He approached her desk, hesitating slightly, as if wrestling with words. "Maya, I've been wanting to say something." Her heart stilled. "What is it?" "You changed this company," he said softly. "But you also changed me. I didn't realize how much until today." She stared at him, unsure where he was going. "I admire you," he continued. "Not just professionally, personally. I admire your courage, your resilience, your heart." Her breath hitched. "Adrian, you don't have to answer," he said quickly. "I just needed you to know." She looked down, emotions swirling, then lifted her gaze again. "I'm not used to people seeing me. Really seeing me. I see you," he whispered. Silence settled around them, warm and gentle. Days turned into months, and their bond deepened, slowly, naturally, beautifully. The office whispered about them, but Maya didn't care anymore. She had faced far worse. Adrian never hid his admiration, though he remained respectful, never crossing boundaries unless she offered her heart first. And she did. One crisp morning, as the staff buzzed about another major partnership signed under Maya's leadership, Adrian walked into the office holding a small velvet box. Maya's breath caught the moment she saw it. He didn't kneel. He didn't make a dramatic speech. Instead, he placed the box gently on her desk. "You saved my company," he said softly. "But more than that, you saved me from living a life where I never noticed the things that truly matter." Maya opened the box slowly. A delicate ring glimmered inside. Simple, elegant, meaningful. Her eyes lifted to his. "Are you sure?" "Absolutely," he said. "I don't want someone perfect. I want the woman who held herself together when everyone tried to break her. The woman who rose through cruelty with grace. The woman I admire every single day." Tears escaped her eyes. Not from sadness, but from years of being unseen finally ending. She reached for his hand. Yes, the news swept through the company like wildfire, but this time, the whispers were filled with awe instead of ridicule. The same people who once belittled her now celebrated her. Not because she was marrying a billionaire, but because she earned every step of her journey. Maya stood at the top floor window one evening, watching the sunset paint the skyline gold. Adrian wrapped his arms around her from behind. She leaned into him, closing her eyes, letting the warmth of the moment wash over her. She had been ridiculed every day. But in the end, she didn't just prove them wrong. She proved herself right. She was never small. She was never weak. She had always been extraordinary. And the world finally saw it.